the stillness of the Mediterranean night, EgyptAir Flight 804 vanished into the depths, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and heart-wrenching mysteries. Join us on a journey into the chilling enigma surrounding one of aviation's most perplexing tragedies. In our documentary, we delve deep into the turbulent skies and turbulent times surrounding the fateful flight, unraveling the layers of speculation, intrigue, and sorrow that shroud the events of May 19, 2016. Prepare to be captivated as we uncover the truth behind the disappearance of EgyptAir 804, a story that echoes through the corridors of aviation history, forever etched in the memories of those who seek answers amidst the darkness. As the sun dipped below the Parisian skyline on the evening of May 18, 2016, the bustling atmosphere of Paris-Charles de Gaulle Airport buzzed with the meticulous preparation for EgyptAir Flight 804. Ground crews meticulously checked every detail of the Airbus A320 aircraft. Passengers gathered at the terminal, their anticipation palpable in the air as they embarked on what they expected to be a routine flight to Cairo. Pilots and flight attendants meticulously reviewed their flight plans. The aircraft was an Airbus A320-232, bearing the registration SU-GCC and manufacturer serial number MSN 2088. It was equipped with two IAE V2527A5 engines. Having completed its maiden flight on July 25, 2003, the aircraft was delivered to EgyptAir on November 3, 2003. On that day, the flight marked the aircraft's fifth journey. Prior to its final flight, the aircraft had operated flights from Asmara International Airport, Eritrea to Cairo, then from Cairo to Tunis-Carthage International Airport, Tunisia, and back. The last completed flight before the tragic crash was Flight 803 bound for Paris, Charles de Gaulle Airport. Paris-Charles de Gaulle Airport, located northeast of Paris, stands as France's largest and busiest airport, serving as a vital hub for both domestic and international travel. Named after the iconic French statesman, the airport boasts state-of-the-art facilities, including multiple terminals catering to millions of passengers annually. The crew comprised a total of 10 members, comprising 2 pilots, 5 flight attendants, and 3 security personnel. EgyptAir reported that Captain Mohammed Shokair possessed 6,275 hours of flight experience, with 2,101 of those hours specifically on the A320 aircraft. Additionally, First Officer Mohammed Assem had accumulated 2,766 hours of flight time. A total of 66 passengers were on board, representing a diverse array of nationalities, with their citizenship spanning across 13 different countries. Among them, 56 passengers hailed from 12 distinct nations. Within this group, 3 passengers were children, inclusive of 2 infants. Additionally, it was noted that some passengers possessed multiple citizenships, reflecting the cosmopolitan nature of the flight's passenger demographic. After completing the procedures, the first officer neatly stowed the flight documents and 2 perfume bottles into a black paper bag, positioning them alongside the iPad 4 and iPhone 6s atop the control dashboard of the plane. 4 days prior to the ill-fated flight on May 19, 2016, the aircraft underwent maintenance due to recurring issues with its computer systems. Within that time frame, the plane experienced 3 emergency landings attributed to computer faults. Upon receiving the aircraft, the maintenance engineering team identified 7 fault warnings linked to the control circuit and electrical system. Instead of addressing the underlying issues, they opted to temporarily disable the affected circuit breaker and restart the system, effectively erasing the fault warnings. This action was taken to conceal the faults from the pilots. Subsequently, the plane operated its scheduled flight from Cairo to Paris and returned to Cairo on the same night, unaware of the latent risks lurking within its systems. 30 minutes after takeoff, EgyptAir Flight 804 cruised steadily at an altitude of 37,000 feet over the tranquil expanse of the Mediterranean Sea. With the aircraft soaring smoothly through the night sky, passengers settled in for what was anticipated to be a 4-hour journey, many opting to drift into a peaceful slumber. Although smoking was permitted on the plane, no passengers indulged in this allowance, contributing to the serene ambiance as the flight continued its course toward its destination. Unbeknownst to the crew, the history of the aircraft included 3 previous emergency landings in as many flights. Minutes later, the captain excused himself to the restroom, intending to indulge in a clandestine smoke, unaware of the looming dangers that would soon unfold. As the warning light flickered indicating smoke in the restroom, the first officer quickly deduced its source to be the captain's clandestine smoke. Recognizing the situation, he chose to bypass the warning. In a rash decision, the first officer lit a cigarette within the cabin. Moments later, with disregard for the potential hazards, he carelessly placed the lit cigarette upon the control dashboard, adjacent to a black paper bag containing perfume bottles and flight documents. Despite the computer issuing a warning of smoke in the cabin, the first officer chose to override the alert, unaware of the impending catastrophe. Upon returning to the cockpit, the captain engaged in conversation with the first officer. Their attention diverted from the warnings flashing on the computer screens. Oblivious to the critical alerts and the escalating situation, they continued their discussion, unaware of the impending danger lurking within the cabin. Engrossed in their conversation, the first officer inadvertently forgot about his half-burned cigarette. Without warning, the smoldering remnants suddenly ignited, unnoticed by the 2 pilots, as they remained absorbed in their discussion. Unbeknownst to them, a perilous situation was rapidly unfolding within the cabin. As the fire from the half-burned cigarette ignited the black paper bag containing perfume, flames quickly engulfed the cabin, creating a harrowing situation. The heat and smoke intensified as the perfume bottles contributed to the blaze. In the chaos, ashes from the fire began to fall into a small slot in the cooling system, exacerbating the perilous conditions on board the aircraft. With the crew still unaware of the unfolding crisis, the situation escalated rapidly, posing a grave threat to the safety of all on board. Moments later, the captain's attention was drawn to the presence of smoke in the cabin. Upon investigation, both he and the first officer were alarmed to discover the fire raging above the control dashboard. Reacting swiftly, they rose from their seats to tackle the flames, desperately attempting to extinguish the growing inferno. Meanwhile, the computer system sounded urgent warnings of smoke detected not only in the cabin, but also in the computer room situated beneath. As smoke billowed into the passenger space, the sleeping passengers were abruptly awakened, thrust into a chaotic and perilous situation. As the flames intensified beyond control, the fire swiftly spread to the computer room below, exacerbating the situation. The aircraft's critical systems were compromised as the fire engulfed the control center, triggering chaos in the cockpit. Suddenly, the autopilot disengaged, sending the plane veering sharply to the left and plummeting in altitude over the vast expanse of the Mediterranean Sea. In a desperate struggle to regain control, the crew faced an unprecedented crisis, grappling with the imminent threat of disaster as the situation spiraled out of control. Both pilots, united in their efforts to wrestle control of the aircraft, found themselves facing an insurmountable challenge. Despite their combined expertise and valiant attempts, the plane persisted in its erratic descent, careening towards the surface with increasing velocity. With a sudden, violent swerve to the right, the aircraft began hurtling toward the sea surface, amplifying the sense of urgency and impending doom in the cockpit. The crash of EgyptAir Flight 804 into the Mediterranean Sea resulted in the loss of all on board, tragically claiming the lives of all passengers and crew. Airbus and the Egyptian government launch investigations into the circumstances surrounding the crash. Initial Egyptian investigations hinted at explosives in the victim's remains of EgyptAir Flight 804, leading to a state security probe. But findings were undisclosed. A confidential French report suggests the crash resulted from pilots smoking. A cigarette in the co-pilot's oxygen mask triggered a fire. The ACARS system detected smoke and system malfunctions before the crash. Despite heightened terrorism concerns, Egyptian authorities withheld findings beyond the mandated timeframe. The conclusive report identifies maintenance and pilot errors as the principal factors contributing to the disaster. It highlights a critical oversight during maintenance procedures, where the replacement of the first officer's oxygen mask was mishandled, resulting in an inadvertent oxygen leak. This leakage subsequently triggered the ignition of the flame, exacerbating the crisis beyond resolution. The findings underscore the significance of meticulous maintenance protocols and emphasize the crucial role of comprehensive training for all personnel involved in ensuring the safety and integrity of flight operations. In the aftermath of the incident, EgyptAir, along with airlines worldwide, implemented a blanket prohibition on smoking within aircraft cabins. This decisive measure aimed to enhance passenger safety and prevent similar incidents by eliminating potential fire hazards associated with smoking onboard aircraft. The widespread adoption of this policy underscored the industry's commitment to prioritizing the well-being and security of passengers and crew during air travel.